Yeshua is my OG, and I don't really know how to be low-key. Yoga on my chest like what it do. We them followers of Christ, on me what it do. And if you're not one, we still kick it, but I might preach to you. I'm just being real with it. Christ said you gotta love them when they front too. Your love measured by the hate you can love through. And if Christ at the cross for the same ones that put him there and died for his killers, he can love you. He the boss. I be on my deal. The way I do it, got a maiming in my halo. The truth work, but it do work. Until you met him, you can never know your true worth. I keep it 100. Some of y'all love it, some of y'all don't, but I ain't finna change nothing. We gon' keep it coming. If it's hating, you the only one that does it. Homie, you can hate me, but you ain't getting no hate back. You get no hate back. Homie, you can hate me, but you ain't getting no hate back. Cause all the hating in the world won't make me a hater. All the hating in the world won't make me a hater. All the hating in the world won't make me a hater. All the hating in the world won't make me a hater. All the hating in the world won't make me a hater. Born sinner, I came with a flaw. I'm finna see the light. I was raised in the dark, but he came for the loss and he paid on the cross. I'm a servant of the king and I bang for the cause. You say you ain't a Christian, I ain't cool. And you can't rock with it cause it's not you. Game rock red, Snoop rock blue. You ain't never bang in your life, but you got to. Just saying, y'all be acting funny though. First I'm a hater cause I'm broke and my money low. Found out I made a couple hundred on the low. Now they like so. I thought it was God over money though. Hate it when I'm paid, hate it when I'm broke.
God bless you too, Claude, man. Appreciate you being on with us this morning, bro.
See him drown in the middle of the ocean when you pull up, baby, hating on your boat. Homie, you can hate me, but you ain't getting no
Shabbat shalom, Facebook fam. We give honor and glory this morning to our higher B'Shem Yeshaya. What? And for all you all that are not familiar with the Hebrew, that is all praise to the Most High. In the name of Christ, as well as the Holy Spirit, we'd like to welcome you this morning to week 26 of the awakening of the so-called black man, the so-called African-American man from the tribe of Judah, from the nation of Israel. We greet each and every one of you this morning and being on with us this morning. We know that you could be doing anything else in the world this morning, so we do appreciate each one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule for being with us on this morning. We know it's raining outside. We know G-Ho is going on right now. We know we got a lot of things going on right now, so the fact of the matter that you would take time out your schedule to be with us this morning, we definitely really appreciate it this morning, and be encouraged that you tuned in the right morning this morning, because we have a very encouraging and empowering word for you on this morning. Some of you have been with us, walking with us throughout this whole entire journey of the awakening of our people, of the so-called black man, the so-called African-American man in this country. And so you have known over the times that we have been building upon the foundation ever since week one. We started out with giving you principles about looking past what your eyes can see and opening up to the possibility of what you may have been taught or what you may have believed your whole entire life, may have been not maliciously, but inadvertently given to you falsely. Shabbat shalom, appreciate you and your wife being on with us this morning, man. May the Most High continue to smile down upon you and your family. And as I was saying, we was building this process and continuing to encouraging the people and letting them know that we didn't come here to criticize or ridicule or be judgmental of what the Christian church is doing and what people in the community is doing, but we felt led for the last 2 years to come in and to encourage and to wake our people up of who they really are. That you're not black, that you're not African American, that you are from the tribe of Judah, from the nation of Israel. And so we told you that there were other things that we were going to be going into, and so this morning we're going to begin that process of going into the book that we call that is called the Apocrypha. And the Apocrypha, if you go research it, we have a link in there. You might want to push that thing in there, charge. Give us 1 second. 1 second. All right, so anyway, thank you. The Apocrypha, if you go research it, a part of the 1611 book of King James Bible, the King James version of the Bible, the Apocrypha was some prophetic books that was part of the Old Testament. Now, around 1938, if I'm not mistaken, the Catholic Church decided that these books were no longer spiritually inspired. It's kind of funny that they decided that when they had it the whole entire time, but something happened around the 1930s and 1940s where a lot of our people were beginning to wake up, which led to the civil rights movements and other things, and we began to ask questions. So because now many of us were being educated and can read, they said, hey, we better get that thing out of the Bible because it exposes everything that the so-called Catholic Church and the so-called Protestant movement were about. It speaks of all the things that they were going by, putting a white face up to be Jesus. It told us that it told us exactly how the so-called Indians and the so-called Puerto Ricans and so-called Mexicans and people of Central South America got here, that they were God's people. It explained that in the book of Second Esdras, as well as it opened up our minds and gave us an insight to some of the things that our people will be going through in the last days. And so today, we're going to go into a couple of those books today. But let me just give you some true understanding. Let me just give you some true understanding of what we're talking about here today. Today's lesson is entitled, Fighting Fair in an Unfair World. Fighting fair in an unfair world. What do we mean by that? We understand as us being so-called black men, so-called African American people, so-called Mexicans, so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Indians, and other what they call to be minorities. We understand that things have not always been fair for our people in this world. But what I want to do today is, what we come today is to encourage you that you need to stand strong despite of what the enemy is doing. You know, they always say that, you know, the people are fighting and people are doing things because they feel like this is the only way that you can fight this battle. But what I need you to understand this morning is that the Most High did not call us to fight as the Gentiles do. He didn't call us to do as what the ungodly people do. He called us to a standard. He called us to a way of life. He called us to that we must follow this Bible regardless of what everybody else in the world is doing. And so this morning we come to encourage you to fight fair in an unfair world. We understand that the stacks in the secular and from the natural perspective is stacked against us. But we have to understand that Romans 8:31 lets us know that if God be for us, who can be against us? And what we need to also understand, more importantly, what we need to understand is that just because you say that you are a Christian, just because you attend the church, you need to realize that that doesn't mean that the Most High is on your side. The Most High is only going to be protecting those who fall in the lines of what He said to live. So when you step outside of those lines, you put yourself in harm's way. That's why the Bible says in Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death. And we understand what the word wage means. You go out and work a job, you get paid wages. Well, that means if you go out and sin, what you're going to get paid back from that is death. Galatians 6:7 say, God is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. So this morning we want to encourage you to continue to fight fair in an unfair world. It is very important that you line yourself up with, because we started out a couple of weeks ago with the building on the true foundation. And when we went from building on the true foundation to the rebirth of a nation, we was rebirthed, understanding that the Most High did not call us to just be individuals waking up to being Israelites, but He also called us to be forming a nation. Right? And so, what we need to also understand when it comes to that is this. We went from that to no matter what, don't look back. We told you that last week. Don't look back. Don't go back into the pagan things. Don't go back into the things of the church. Don't go back into the things what Christianity is doing and what they have taught you. When you understand that the Most High has awakened us, when you understand the Most High has called us to an higher standard, no matter what they're saying, you can't look back. And we gave you this word to encourage you because we know that the holidays, the so-called holidays, are on the way. And many of you have been walking with us this entire journey. And you're going to be tempted around Thanksgiving to throw that turkey on the table. You're going to be tempted around Christmas to throw that Christmas tree up in your house. So we wanted to tell you, no matter what, don't look back. But today, we wanted to encourage you even further that you must fight fair in an unfair world. So we put that link in there. If you go back up at the beginning, you will see a link in there where it gives you the King James Bible online. As we told you, today we're going to be going into 2 books that are in the Apocrypha. So for any of those who wanted to go on with us, we wanted to make sure that you have an opportunity to follow along with us. So go up and click on that link. If you have a tablet or a computer, you can click on that link and you can go along with us. But if not, you can stay with us as we read throughout. You can go back and check those verses after the lesson. So go in your Bible to Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. The book is called Wisdom of Solomon. Of course, we know Solomon was one of the kings of Israel, the second king after David. And he has a book that was in the Apocrypha called Wisdom of Solomon. And we're going to be in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. We're going to give you verses 1, as well as what did I have in the notes? 10 through 24. So if you want to write this down, if you don't have the Apocrypha, or you don't have an opportunity to go through it with us, you can write that down, and then you can go on that link, King James Bible Online, and you can be able to check it out. You have to click on the 1611 version. All right? So we're going to start here today. And for those who are just coming on with us today, today's lesson is entitled, Fighting Fair in an Unfair World. So we're going to start here, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Let's start here, verse 1.
For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of man there is no reason.
So the Most High said here, this chapter right here is going to give us a insight. It's going to give us an interest into the mind of the ungodly. And it starts here saying by that the ungodly said reasoning in their mind, but not being right. And this is something that we all have been guilty of at one point in our lives, is that we begin to reason things in our mind. When you ever hear people say statements like, well, you know, God knows my heart, that's reasoning in your mind. Or when you hear people say, well, I know that's what the Bible says, but this is what I believe. That's reasoning in your mind. When you say, well, I understand what you're saying is right, but I feel this is right for me. Reasoning in your mind. So he said the ungodly was reasoning with themselves, but not aright. He said that our life was short. When you heard that right there before? Don't you hear that right now in all this music? Everybody saying YOLO, you only live once. There's nothing new under the sun, people. The enemy was talking about it then, and the enemy is talking about it now. You only live once. What else did he say?
Our life is short and tedious.
Short and tedious. That means we here for a minute and everything is bad. So we're going to do what?
And in the death of a man, there is no remedy.
There's no remedy. There's nothing we can do about it. We all going to die. So he said what?
Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
So that means they're saying at this point, listen, nobody ever came back. It's only a short time. So YOLO till I die. I'm only going to live once, so I'm going to do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it. Now, when you get an opportunity, go read verses 2 through 9. We don't have an opportunity, we don't have time to go in there now because we have a lot of information to give you today. But read verses 2 through 9 in your own time, because he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and eat all the best food, and I'm going to take all the land from anybody, and I'm going to do everything. But we're going to stick to the topic here today, which is fighting fair in an unfair world. And what we're about to show you here is, yes, it is really unfair. Because the unrighteous, the ungodly, those who are walking with Satan are determined to try to destroy us. And before we get even read these scriptures, let me say this on the outset. That I tell people all the time that there's three different types of people in this world. Those who are walking with Christ, those who are not, and those who are walking with Satan. There's only three types of people in this world. Those who are walking with Christ, those who are not, and those who are walking with Satan. And you must understand that those people who are not walking with Christ and those who are walking with Satan are not the same. You understand? They're not the same. Because see, one of the mistakes that the church has made is that we judge people by their sins. So if that guy's a fornicator, that guy sells drugs, or this girl is trapped in homosexuality, or whatever the case may be, we call them, we put them in the same category with a person who is doing evil things, like serial killers and all these things, and people who are actually passing laws to make sure that people follow the ungodly things. You understand? These people that are out here sacrificing people and deliberately trying to destroy people. Those are not the same thing, okay? There's a difference between a sinner, and a Satanist. You understand? That's two different people. So we can't look at a person who just may be trapped in some sin currently as a person who is deliberately trying to make sure that you never walk with God. You understand? So today what we're about to show you is the mind of those who are walking with Satan, and how us, being from the nation of Israel, who are righteous people, how they are determined to destroy us. It has nothing to do with your skin. It has nothing to do with your hair. It has nothing to do with your economic status. It has to do with the blood that is running in your veins. That you are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob seed. So we're about to show you here. Verse 10.
Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age.
So you see how he made it specific there? Let us oppress the poor righteous man. I'm not going to worry about the old. I don't care nothing about the widows. I want to destroy them all. This is the mind of the ungodly. Verse 11.
Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
You see that? Let our strength be the law of justice. This is why in America you have all these laws that are strategically designed to destroy our people. So let's say, for instance, you sell drugs, you sell cocaine, this guy sells meth, and this guy sells crack. How is it that the person who sells cocaine can get probation, the person that sells meth may get a year, but if you sell crack, 30? Why do you think that is? Who is predominantly the people who are selling crack? Us. Where's crack use normally done at? In our neighborhoods. So we go on the laws, and we change the laws purposely to make sure that all the people that are the Most High's true people, we make sure that laws are designed to make sure you don't get where you're going. Then we set up a system where we say, hey, everybody is due to a trial and a lawyer and representation, right? So if you're rich, you can come in with this fancy lawyer, you get off. If you're poor, we give you a public defender, you're automatically done. So who ultimately goes to prison? The poor. Go down to traffic court. Do you ever see rich folks in there? They send their lawyer. Case dismissed. They can be going 90 and 55. They all of a sudden get, improper equipment. That poor guy who doesn't have money to go to a lawyer, license taken. No license, job loss. No job, family loss. Family loss, kids scattered. So you think this stuff is just happening by coincidence? Read that for him again.
Let our strength be in the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
So he's saying those who are feeble, those who are not strong, those who don't have a lot of money and fortitude, we don't count you as nothing. This system wasn't set up like this by accident. It was set up to keep our people in bondage. Verse 12.
Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn.
He is not with us. Because we understand fully, if you're with the Most High, you can't be with us. That's what the ungodly is saying. If you follow law, statutes, and commandments, there's no way you can be with us. Okay? If you don't believe in fornicating, you don't believe in destroying the people, you can't be with us. And what else did he say?
And he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law.
See, he doesn't like, he always calling you out for breaking the Most High's law. You ever notice how people, when you tell them about the law, the Bible, how people get offended, automatically mad? Like, you can tell them, like, yo, the Most High said, we supposed to be following this feast. Why are you following Christmas? Man, what are you trying to tell me? They get mad. Like, how is it that you get mad by something that's in the Bible, but you say you're a Christian? Stop judging me, man. Then he said what?
And objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education.
So then he tells you, listen, I ain't going off to no school for they can tell me that God ain't real. You go out to these higher schools of educations, and what they go in there, the whole purpose of them is to program you, brainwash you, and teach you that God doesn't exist. So they ain't got the Bible open, but they telling you, you know, this is Darwin's theory right here, that we all come from monkeys. You ever seen all these commercials? They telling this chimpanzee is our closest cousin. No, it might be yours, but it ain't mine. I'll tell you that right now. I was made in the image of the Most High. He might be your cousin, but he ain't mine. Okay? You might, that's about how you rock, but that ain't how the Most High people rock. You understand? So we tell them your education is foolish. The Bible says us in 1 Corinthians the 8th chapter, that the wisdom of this world is foolishness to the Most High. Where you deny what they in their education, they would deny what Christ did for us 2,000 years ago, but they would tell you what they believe happened millions of years ago. But if you ask them what they ate last week for dinner, they couldn't even tell you. But their faith is in something that they said happened millions of years ago. Right? So we laugh, the righteous laugh at their education. Verse 13.
He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord.
You see that? This is what we say. This is what the righteous say. You said, read that verse for him again.
He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and calleth himself the child of the Lord.
He calls himself the child of the Lord. Notice now, a friend of mine sent me some information this last night, but it said now the FBI has added to their terrorist list black extremists about their identification. Israelites. Yeah. So those who know who they are, those who are teaching and out in the streets and out on social media and that are traveling around the world, letting our people know who we are, they don't put us on the FBI list as future terrorists. I wonder why. Now, if I was on here telling you to sell crack and telling you to bust heads and telling you to go ride, I'll probably be getting money sent to me in the mail by them. Keep up the good work. Right? But because I'm telling our people that you're not black, that you're not African American, you add me to the terrorist list. This is what's going on, people. Verse 14.
He was made to reprove our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
He is grievous unto even to behold, for his life is not like other men.
That's why they don't even like, they hate every time you walk in a place, every time you walk in a building, every time they see one of us with our fringes on, they mad. Every time they see a family with a husband and a wife in a restaurant, everybody's walking holy and living like they're supposed to be, they're mad. Because they want to see that black man with his pants hanging down, right? They want to see the girl, they want to see the woman out there dressing the provocative. So when a woman walks here with her hair wrapped and looking holy and her children are acting right, they get mad. What did they say? What did they say?
His ways of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstains from our ways as from filthiness.
They are mad that we won't eat their pork. They're mad that we won't eat their shrimp and lobster. They're mad because we won't participate in their nonsense. He abstains from our filthiness, what they say. What else did he say?
He pronounces the end of the just to be blessed and maketh his boast that God is his father.
What he said, he make a boast that God is his father. Who is saying that? Us. the Israelites whose mind has been awakened to who they are. That they're not the black, that they're not African American. They're from the tribe of Judah, from the nation of Israel. And we know that Deuteronomy 7:6 lets us know that Most High chose us to be a special people above all people. So because we know that, it angers the ungodly. Verse 17.
Let us see if his words be true. Let us prove what shall happen to the end of
So
him.
this is why the heat has been turned up on our people. Okay? This is from the Old Testament. This is why this is happening. This is why every time a black man gets shot in the streets, there's always a camera there. So we're going to put it on the news and we're going to show it to you over and over and over. This is why when you go to court, how every time you're trying to state your case, everybody is short with you. Everybody has an attitude. Nobody wants to give you time to give you some kind of understanding. This is why they talk to you the way they do on your jobs. This is why when you go out to Walmart and go to the convenience stores and go to the restaurants, that the people are short with you and have an attitude because they're trying to test you. They're trying to see if you're going to stand. They're kind of trying to see if they can edge you on to do something that will cause you harm ultimately. This is why it's happening. Verse 18.
Well, if the just man be the Son of God, he will help him.
You see that? What did you see that before? If you go to Matthew the 4th chapter, when the devil was coming at Christ, what he kept saying? If you be the Son of God. If you be the Son of God. So now, because our people are waking up to who we are, we're going to see if you really believe that you're Israel or not. We're going to see if you really believe that you're with Christ or not. Because they're going to do everything they can. Fighting fair in an unfair world. What else did he say?
For if the just man be the Son of God, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies.
Okay.
Let us examine him with deceitfulness and torture.
Look at that. We're going to purposely bring him into places where we're going to do things. We're going to bring laws against him. We're going to bring charges against him that we know he didn't do. We're going to give him the max to see if he'll snitch. We're going to torture him. We're going to turn on the news, and we're going to every time you turn on your local news, we're going to make sure that the whole show is filled up with people that look just like you. You understand? What you say? What Christopher said? Come. Did he say what?
Let us examine him with deceitfulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience.
We're going to do whatever we can do to prove your patience. This is one of the main reasons why we're doing this message today, because we understand that the more you walk with the Most High. See, and I hope people are not offended by this statement, but I'm going to have to say it. The devil is perfectly fine with you going to church on Sunday morning, hooping and hollering, running around the church, coming home saying, I'm going to heaven anyhow. With your pocket squares, with your dresses and pretty dresses and your pretty Bible cases and your I Love Jesus t-shirts. He's perfectly fine with you doing that. Because he understands that Hosea 4:6 says that my people are perishing because of lack of knowledge, because they have rejected knowledge. Because you're rejecting the law. You understand? So he understands. He's perfectly fine with you doing Sunday worship, because he knows the Most High told us to remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. So he's perfectly fine with you doing that. He's perfectly fine with you every year giving all your money at Christmas time. He's perfectly fine for you sitting around your table on Thanksgiving, celebrating the day that was set up, that was a celebration of the slaughter of God's people. Right? He's perfectly fine with you bring your Easter ham out on Easter and not keeping the Passover. He's perfectly fine with you doing that, because he knows as long as you're doing that, you're outside of the protection of the Most High. But when you walk away from those things, when you begin to not do those things, you don't look back no more, that's when the enemy is coming for you. And some of you whose eyes have been awakened during this journey, all this stuff that's been happening to you negatively, you couldn't understand why. Because you're like, yo, man, I'm doing what's right. It's so like the more right I do, the more wrong happens to me. You know why? Because you left Satan's team. So they got the system set up that the more righteous we determine to be, the more wrong they're going to put up, try to trip us up. Fighting fair in an unfair world. Verse 20.
Let us condemn him with shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected.
This is what's happening. This is why they're kidnapping our children, kidnapping our little girls and teenagers, and you're finding them, they ain't got no organs in their bodies. This is why you can have a guy that in a regular traffic stop gets shot right there in front of his girl and his kids. They take it, play it all on social media, then put it on every news program and show it for 3 months straight, every day. Shameful death. This is why they zoom in on the mama crying and broken down in the streets. This is why you have shows like First 48, Cops, that are primetime shows, right? To show you the death of our people repeatedly. Shameful death. And make sure that you know how unfair it is. This is why this is happening. This is why something could happen to a dog or a pet or something, and they'll come on with a disclaimer. Yeah. Viewer discretion is advised. This is going to be hard for you to see. You may want to get your kids out of the room. But then they show us, and they won't even say that. This is why. Verse 21.
Such things they did imagine were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them.
You see that? The Most High said, now we're talking about the ungodly now. These are the things that they think, but they have been deceived. Just like my boy Christopher just said, they're gonna burn in the lake of fire. They deceived. They're blinded. Their wickedness have blinded them. They can't even see. Verse 22.
As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not.
They knew them not.
Neither hope they for the wages of righteousness, nor discern a reward for blameless souls.
So they don't even care. They didn't take an opportunity to actually look in the Most High's book and actually see what happens to those who walk with him. So I'm going to do all this work to defame Christians and to defame Israelites and to defame those who are walking with Christ. But I won't even take time to look in here and find out what's the reward for those who walk with him. And now I'm talking to your people, our people that's doing that, who spend their entire day, on a day-to-day basis, going on social media saying, attacking the church, attacking preachers, and attacking followers of Christ every day, and haven't even taken the time to look in the Bible and see actually what works for those who stand with the Most High. So you're talking about something you don't even know. We were talking about that last week. Speaking on things that they don't even know. Verse 23.
But God created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity.
See, what we have to realize is this. We're going to live forever. This is I'm quoting the Cray right here. We're going to live forever whether we want to or not. Some of us going to end up holy. Some of us going to end up hot. You understand? Because we are made in the Most High's image. And anything that the Most High creates never dies. So you're going to live forever, whether you want to or not. YOLO is the greatest life from the pits of hell. Are you going to live with the Most High? Or are you going to be in the lake of fire tormented forever? It's going to be one or the other. And so this is the thoughts of the ungodly that they didn't realize. Verse 24.
Nevertheless, through the envy of the devil came death unto the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it.
You see that? Because the devil that was envy of the Most High, this is how death came into the world. Because Adam was created to live forever on the earth. But because when he ate of the fruit that he was not supposed to eat, he died of spiritual death And slowly but surely his physical death came about. And so those who put their hands in the devil's hands, you will die as well. This is why it tells us in Matthew 10, don't fear the man who can kill the body. You need to fear the God who can kill your body and your soul. So today's lesson is entitled, Fighting Fair in an Unfair World. We understand that they're stacked against us. We understand that they're trying to destroy us. We understand that they're trying to break us down. We understand that they're trying to make us self-destruct and be the person who put the gun, put the wound in our own chest. But today we're trying to encourage you today that regardless of what they're doing, we need to fight fair in an unfair world. Now, for those, like I said, we got that link of the King James Bible. We're not to go to one more book of the Apocrypha, then we're going to get back to the regular Bible. And this is called Ecclesiasticus, the 2nd chapter. Like I said, we got that link in there for you. You can go back and watch. You can go back and check these out. Matter of fact, Jay, put that in there for them, Ecclesiastes. Put that in the box for them to have that, because I know it's kind of difficult to spell. Put that in there for them. And so when you get a chance, you can go back and take a look at this on your own time. You're going to find this chapter very encouraging.